So let's get started then. So the Orchard Tools app for iOS has been a project that I've been working on now for a little while, and I want to tell you why it was developed. So, I've been going to a lot of conferences over the years where the industry is always encouraged to record more data. That way you can get more information to support your decision making, which completely makes sense, but it's not always easy or efficient or practical to record that kind of data. So, these models can be really helpful, but we don't want to lose efficiency in the orchard by trying to record that information. So, I've tried this. I've heard people try juggling a computer when going up a tree. Not always the easiest thing. The other option is to have one person counting and the other person recording on a spreadsheet, which is not very efficient because you've just got one person standing there recording information. So it's not totally necessary when they could be doing something else. Also, after you've got it on the spreadsheet, you need to re-enter it from the printed spreadsheet to a computer, which also takes time. During my master's research, I had also tried being on the phone with my husband on the other line, who was punching in the data to Excel. And sometimes the cell service drops. Again, not the easiest thing to do. I've also been to IFTA events where we have this conversation, and some people suggested a Bluetooth keyboard. And I think we're just really trying to overcomplicate this when we've got a smartphone in our pocket that can do exactly this. So, I've been trying to think of a better way for a while now, and I'm pretty happy with what we've arrived at here, just using the smartphone that's already a tool in our back pocket. So here it is, and it helps with record keeping, just to simplify, save time, keep that data, in your back pocket, available to you when you need it. So it's available for just iOS at this point. So you can put it on an iPhone, an iPod, or an iPad. Some people like the iPad because it's a bigger font, easier to see. I like the handheld approach on the iPhone or the iPod just because you've got one hand using it and the other hand, taking your measurements or going throughout the tree. So I'm going to go through the core concepts. Basically, what does it do? And what are the practical features that we wanted to consider for using this in the orchard? So it comes with a list of available tools, and but you can use your imagination too because these are just keyboards, basically customized keyboards. So it comes with these available tools, and the first one would be the king fruit diameter. So it's around the fruitlet thinning stage, and what you want to do is just walk throughout the orchard and measure the king fruits so that you know what point you are in the thinning process and within that thinning window of opportunity. So really easy, just a custom keyboard comes up. So you've got from 0 to 9, and you can punch in the fruit diameter. This is better than just using the basic keyboard. Excuse me. So it's better than using the basic keyboard that comes with the phone because usually you've got the letters on the keyboard with the little numbers at the top. So here we're just really focusing on the numbers. And then at the end of that, you get an average king fruit diameter. So pretty easy if you wanted to walk through a few blocks with a digital caliper and make those measurements and record them. And then you can, choose multiple dates and keep an eye on that fruit size. Another option is the fruitlet counter. So that would be recording the number of fruit per cluster. That tends to be helpful in research when we're looking at how many fruit are there before a chemical thinning application and how many fruit are there after. So that keyboard has 1 to 5 buttons, nice big button sizes, really easy when you're going through a tree, looking at what clusters, where they are, how many fruit are there. The other option is the fruit diameter, which we're going to focus on later in this presentation because this is helpful with determining the fruit growth rate. And in this case, it keeps track of the individual fruit identity so that you can monitor a fruit's growth over time. but we'll get into that more. So another tool is the fruit color rating. So this is in percentages. So you can rate, if you're doing quality control in a bin, you can quickly rate what percentage of that fruit is red color and get an idea. Or even like before harvesting, if you're trying to compare blocks and you just want that feedback, then you can use the tool. And similarly, you can use the fruit size category as well if you wanted to measure the diameter of those fruitlets. Again, really useful in research when we've got these larger sample sizes to work with, but not like a full grading packing line to record that information. And then you can use your imagination too. I've done apple scab disease trials where I've rated, using some of these tools, rated the incidence of scab. So, I mean, the usefulness is pretty unlimited with research. So it's developed for use in the orchard. So we made sure to have some practical features. So, like I said, the large button sizes with custom keyboards have been very handy. So I'm going to play this video here where you can see this is the keyboard with percentages. Gives you some visual feedback too. There's the buttons from 1 to 5. This is the individual fruit identity, which we're going to talk more about later. This is the fruit size, the diameter. Okay, and then here, now you heard that sound. So that sound confirms that you've entered a value. So, that can be really handy in the orchard when you're recording because it gives you some feedback to let you know that you did, in fact, press the button and that data has been recorded. Also, when you hear that sound, it's auto saving the data. So, if you close the window, the data is saved and you didn't lose the hundreds of values that you entered. Now, we've also got multiple collection dates. So, you can see here, you can do unlimited collection dates. To your heart's content. You can create a new date. And all of these functions are performed locally on the device. So you could be in the middle of the orchard. You don't need a cellular or a Wi-Fi connection. So in order to enter data, in order to analyze the data, it's all done right on the phone. It's pre-programmed into the app. So that can be quite useful. There's also functions to review the averages and graphs if you want some immediate feedback. Say you're looking at the average diameter over time and how quickly it's growing. And then, of course, you can export the information and it's automatically put into a CSV file, and you can just email that to yourself. So we'll look at that more later in the presentation as well. So that's, the real benefit of it. It's assembling the information so that you've got it for yourself in a file. Okay, so we field tested the app in 2019 and 2020 to make sure that it was working. It worked well in the orchard, and we came up with some more improvements in the user experience after experiencing it ourselves. So I'll give you a preview here. So nice and handheld. That's really the key with working in orchards when you can't always balance a laptop. Okay, so I want to talk more about the fruit diameter function because the focus of today is crop load management, of course, paired with the earlier session. So what you can do with this app is track the fruit growth rate, or track the fruit growth over time. And by recording this data, it ends up in the correct format if you want to plug it in and use it with the predicting fruitset model. So like I mentioned earlier, reason why you would want to track the fruit growth rate is to help predict how many fruit are going to stay or drop in response to a chemical thinner. So you monitor that over time, and the slow growing fruit are likely to fall off, predicted by the model, and the faster growing fruit are likely to stay on. So it gives you some feedback. So on the app, this is how you would track the fruit growth. And I'm going to play this video now. So like I said, the individual fruit identity is shown here. So you're on tree 1, cluster 1, and the fruit will continue changing as you move along, up to 5 fruit in a cluster. And it moves on to the second cluster. And now we've already recorded 10 clusters with up to 5 fruit in the cluster. I'm just going to pause that now. So yeah, what you would do is you would have labeled those clusters and the trees and the fruit in the field, and then that matches up with how you're recording it in the app, so that you're revisiting the same fruit over time and recording their diameter on each collection date. Okay, so you've recorded 10 clusters on a tree, and now you want to move to the next tree, because you want to have a couple representative trees. And you just press next tree, and now you're at tree 2, cluster 1, fruit 1. And you go ahead recording. Now you can have multiple collection dates, and this is how you would get, you'd be able to calculate the fruit growth rate because you're looking at it over time. And based on the first template that you created on the first date, it's going to tell you, start at tree 1, cluster 1, fruit 1 again, and you can continue recording. Or some people prefer just to create, a new starting date every time, and that's totally fine. And then if you want to export the data, you email it to yourself, and then you would go onto your computer. So there I am emailing it to myself. And here we are at the computer. So then you can use the data with the predicting fruitset model. You can find that on the Michigan State University website. And it's being shown on the left. You don't necessarily need to see the numbers in this. I know it's quite small, but the predicting fruitset model is on the left. The output from the app is on the right, and all you have to do is copy and paste into the model. And there you go. And then you would use the model like you normally would. So who's using it? So there was a grower who used it last year and was in communication with me, and it was Joseph Ferry, the co-owner of T&K Ferry Orchards in Ontario. And he said that the app saved him a lot of time, which is great to hear that we're making this more efficient. His older process, he was, they were known for using the predicting fruitset model, and the way they used to do it was enter the data on a field sheet and then re-enter the data into Excel back at the computer. So that would typically take him 20 minutes, he said, to re-enter the data for each variety, and the Orchard Tools app took only a couple of minutes, which is great. So hopefully this can open up the opportunity for more people to try this out. So also, if we have some researchers on the webinar today, I wanted to mention the research option. So this app was also partly developed to help us with our own research to speed up our efficiency. And so you can toggle on the research option. So that's right there. It's toggled on when you create the project. And then what it lets you do is create treatment names with the plot name, the replication name, and the flag color. So you build all of your treatments, and then when you create a collection date, then all of your treatments are set up, and you just record the data within those treatments. So that's being shown here, an example of plot 301, 302, 303, and so on. So all of those plots are set up in the randomized design. And you just click on those to start recording the data on your collection date. So also want to talk about some of the project options and settings, just to make sure that you have a good user experience with this. So you can choose how your tools are sorted. So if you you download the app and you know that you're never going to use the fruit size category or the fruit color category. Well, just get rid of the clutter. So just check it off and it'll disappear. You can also reorder it so that you've got fruit diameter above king fruit diameter because you think you're going to use that more often. That's totally fine. You can customize your experience that way. You can also organize the projects. So if you have different block names, say you want to organize it by the date that the file was modified, the date that the file was created, or alphabetically, that works too. You can also add notes on different collection dates, pretty much anything that comes to your mind. Say you want to make note of something that happened with the weather, maybe there was a dead tree, whatever you want to make note of. And that'll get exported with the data as well. Also, it's easy to delete something if you've recorded the wrong value. So, but it's not so easy that you're going to delete something that you don't want to delete because it's going to ask you to confirm that you want to delete it. So you select the delete, confirm delete. You have to press the button again to confirm that, which can be quite handy when you're working in a tree because you don't always mean to press a button, and you do. Also, it's compatible with light and dark mode. So this can be handy if, depending on the time of day, maybe in the sun, you'll see dark mode better than light mode, or, you can choose how you want to view it. Just another option. So, I mean, this is directly comparing the same page. So light mode and dark mode. So it's available on the App Store now. You can download it and try it for free if you're like me and you want to try something before you use it. Um, if you want to use the premium features, though, we do have a yearly subscription fee of $29.99, and we just want to make sure that it's sustainable. Apps need to be constantly updated when new software becomes available. So that'll just help with the sustainability of it, and we think that because it's making people more efficient, that this can easily pay off a few times over, giving you more feedback on your thinning process and anything else you want to use it for, really. So I think that's the last slide there. Yep. So happy to take any questions if anybody has any. Um, yeah. Thanks for joining me today. Hopefully that gave you a pretty good overview of what it lets you do, and just really hoping to make use of the smartphone in the orchard, helping you record data.